Hello, and welcome to the Path to Freedom podcast, a podcast that is about how you can tap into the freedom that is inherent within you, regardless of what is going on in the external world. Freedom from fear, worry, and doubt. Freedom to follow your heart's desires. Freedom to live in joy, love, peace, and harmony. My name is Daniel Roqueo, and I'm your host. Hello, and welcome back to yet another weekly episode of the Path to Freedom podcast. A podcast that is about freedom, the freedom that is inherent within each of us, the freedom that is all around us, that is everywhere to be found if we only know where to look. The freedom from fear and worry and doubt, freedom to follow our heart's desires, freedom to not care what others think, freedom to not even care what we ourselves think about what we're capable of, what we can do, what we can't do. So, welcome. If you're new, if this is the first time you tune in, I welcome you from all of my heart, from the bottom of my heart. If you've tuned in before, I welcome you back. My name is Daniel Roqueo, and before we get into today's episode, let's begin with raising our vibration to the level of gratitude. So I invite you to close your eyes, take a deep breath, and exhale with the sound of ah. Feel your body relaxing. Take another breath in. And surrender your breathing, which means let go of control. Let your body breathe for you. Your body is divinely intelligent. It knows how to breathe. So we can just relax and allow the body to do just so, to breathe, while we simply pay attention to the body breathing, to our breaths. With each breath, we give the body permission to relax. And as the body relaxes, let's begin with expressing our gratitude for all that the body does for us. It's our loyal companion. It's our buddy. It's our best buddy. And without us even having to be aware of it, the body breathes, it extracts the oxygen, the hydrogen, it digests our food, it regenerates, it fights off diseases and illnesses. It allows us to move through life. Even if you're experiencing pain, or even if you're experiencing some illness or disease, there is so much that the body does that we're not even aware of. And it does it with love. It does it with love. So the body is worthy of our gratitude. The body is worthy of our appreciation, our thanksgiving. So let's just be grateful for our bodies. And as we now begin to relax even more, let's open and expand. Let us expand our perspectives. Let's move beyond the body to other areas of our lives. Just look at all the good. Think of all the good, all the blessings, all the gifts that are present in each and every moment of our lives. The abundance that we have, the joy that we have, the love that we have. And I invite you to think of something that you're particularly grateful for. What comes to my mind is me, who I am, and even more so, who I am becoming. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful that I have a place where I can give my service. I'm grateful for my willingness to grow, to unfold. The challenges that I'm facing, allowing me to expand even more. I'm grateful for everything that has been in my life up until this point, because I know that everything that has been has made this moment possible. I love this moment. I'm so grateful for this moment. So I'm grateful for everything that's been. And as we now open and expand, making ourselves open, available, and receptive to catch that which is not seen with our eyes, that which cannot be heard with our ears, that which cannot be felt with our human senses. But yet, we catch it. We see it, we feel it, we hear it, we catch it. That next great version and expression of who we are, that is right in this moment seeking to emerge into our lives. And I'm so grateful for that dude that is coming. The level of service he'll give, the level of love he'll share, the level of peace and harmony and freedom that he will experience. I'm so grateful for it. I'm so grateful for him. Frankly, I just want to hug him. If he was standing here beside me or next to me, I'd hug him. So much to be grateful for. So much to be grateful for. So this was a brief moment of raising our vibration to a beautiful level. I invite you to come back. I invite you to open your eyes. Keep the feeling. Stay in that high vibration of gratitude. Don't let it go, but stay there. Hold on to it. Yet, we want to surrender to it. And this is the topic for this week's episode. Living the surrendered life. Living the surrendered life. Because that is how life becomes easy, graceful, and dignified when we surrender to it. when we stop fighting, when we stop coercing, when we stop manipulating, but we simply let life have its way with us. Or another word for life is God. We want to surrender our lives to God. Now there are two words here that we need to turn our attention to for a moment. The first word obviously is surrender. That we want to surrender our lives to God. Surrender does not mean giving up. It does not mean yielding, rolling over, acquiescing. It's not us waving a white flag, giving up like in the war, like in war terms. But surrender simply means that we get out of the way. We allow something that is happening and that wants to happen. When we surrender to God, we pay more attention to that still small voice within us that is forever and ever and ever whispering words of wisdom and guidance and love to us. That is forever guiding and leading us, nudging us, pulling us along our unique, perfect path of unfolding. That we may allow this new and great version of who we are and what we are to emerge, to come forth. Surrender means letting go, releasing and letting go of resistance. It means releasing and letting go of opinions and thoughts as to what should and should not be. We go with the flow, that we may flow with the go. That's a beautiful statement. We go with the flow, that we may flow with the go. The go of life. So that's surrender and its meaning. Then we have God and what God is and what God means. God is not some man in the sky. God is not an external deity sitting somewhere up there or out there that we have to appease and please, that we have to be aware of and wary of. But God is love. God is a presence. The very presence that has created all of life, that sustains and maintains all of life, that sources and fuels and funds all of life. And God is forever moving and leading and guiding and pulling us into forever and ever greater and grander versions of what we are. What you are, what I am. Because that is the will of, that is the purpose of all of life. To come into forever greater and grander versions of itself. That God may come into a greater and grander version of what God is. That is the will of God. For all of life to expand continuously, eternally. That God may know itself as us, as our lives. So surrender is a good thing. God is a good thing. Both are wonderful words. Both carry wonderful vibrations. So we want to live the surrendered life. Now, what does it mean to live a surrendered life? It means, as I said before, paying more attention to that still small voice that is forever seeking to pull us forward, to guide us forward, to move us forward and upward. Always forward and upward. That seeks to guide us outside of our present paradigms, that seeks to guide us outside of our present comfort zones. That we may open and expand, that we may become more and more and more, yet never less than who we are, but always more that we may learn more, that we may give more, that we may share more, as is our purpose here on earth, to give and share of our talents and gifts and abilities. And we are to do this without resisting the change, without resisting the growth, but flowing with it. And this still small voice, we've talked about it before, it speaks to us in different languages. Always in a language and in a way that we can all understand as unique and perfect individuals, but it speaks differently to me than perhaps to you. To me, it speaks through an inner knowing. I just know. I can't explain how I know. It's not an image, it's not a sound, it's not a feeling, it's just, I just know. I just know. And it's taken me, it took me quite some time, a number of years actually, before I realized, before I learned to discern how that voice spoke to me or how it speaks to me. I used to believe that the still small voice, or called intuition by some, other names by others, but I used to believe that it spoke only through images, that I was to see in my mind. That was an expression that I learned early on. I am to see with my mind, my visions, the guidance that I receive. But I don't see. I hardly ever see it. And it's weird that I can even dream, because I hardly ever see images. But I know. I know. So it took me a number of years to learn to discern this voice from the egoic voice. But now, my God, my life, what it has become, what I have become, because I learned to discern this voice. And over the years, I've learned to trust it implicitly. I'm oftentimes amazed by how judgment has dissolved. How I no longer question this guidance when I catch it, but I just go right ahead and follow it. I heed it all the time, and I'm tuning in. I'm tuning in more times a day than I can even be aware, that I'm not even aware of. By using my breath, taking a couple of deep breaths, by reminding myself to open and expand, to embrace and allow, to release and let go, and just by becoming still. And I do it in my car, I do it in line, when I'm standing in line, I do it while I'm waiting, I do it while I'm in the shower, while I'm in the bathroom, when I'm cooking, when I'm out walking, even when I'm around other people, even when I'm engaged in conversation, I still turn within, allowing my breaths to guide me to stillness. Because it is in that stillness that I'm open, available to catch this guidance. I need to be still. If there's too much noise, mental noise up here in my mind, in my head, I can't hear it. It still speaks to me, but I can't hear it. So we need to become still. We need to become still, we need to learn to discern it, and also we need to learn to trust it. And I don't know how exactly or when exactly I went from not trusting it to trusting it, because I used to not trust it. I used to be very intellectual. I thought of myself as very smart. I thought of myself as doing very good. And I did. And I was smart. But life was a struggle. And every idea that I caught, I found myself seeking to think of how to implement it, thinking of how to manifest it. But that is not surrendering. I was beating my head intellectually, trying to figure out the way forward. But that is not surrendering. Surrendering is simply, there's a statement that we get out of the way. We take our egos, we take our minds out of the way that God or life may have full sway over us. And I've oftentimes had the feeling that I'm like a passenger on a train or on a bus. Someone else is driving. It's not me. All of the all of the ideas, all of the intuitive hits that I've caught over the last 4 or 5 years, because that's where this part of this chapter of my life began 4 or 5 years ago. And all of the ideas that I've caught, such as this podcast, such as the Love and Light store, such as other things that I've been doing, I caught the idea, but then the idea grabbed hold of me and pulled me forward. I did not think of how to make a podcast, and I don't even have a script. For the first two episodes of this podcast, I did have a script. I had a manuscript. I was following, or not a manuscript, but a mind map with uh, points and sentences and phrases that I thought, and this was my intellectual mind, that I thought I had to cover, that I thought I had to speak of. But then I let that go, because I realized that this is me seeking to make something happen. I want to come across as this very spiritual individual who's wise and who is profound in presence and in the presence of spirit. But that's just to make an impression. That's not surrendering. And so I let that go. And I allow whatever comes out of my mouth to come out. I'm not questioning it. I'm not judging it. But I go with the flow. It flows and I go with it. And this is surrender. Because we always need to realize that God is forever on our side. God is forever, ever, ever on our side. Always seeking to move us into higher and greater and grander expressions of who and what we are. So we don't need to figure out the way forward. And we've talked about this before. We set an intention, we have a vision, we say yes to it, which means that we give it permission to come forth. And then we surrender to it. We allow it to move us. We allow it to guide us. Because all the ideas that we ever catch, all the visions or dreams that we ever have, they are divine seeds, and they have they have a life of their own. Which means that we never have to make anything happen. It is not our responsibility that they manifest. But our responsibility is to make ourselves open, available, that they may flow through us. Take a breath. And just feel what it feels like to give in. Not give up, but to give in. What if we sort of treated life, or approached life rather, approached life as a cab ride? We have our vision, we have our intention. In other words, we've told the cab driver where we want to go. And then we get into the back seat in the cab and we surrender the trip, the journey to the driver. What if we were to approach life like this? We have our vision, we have our intention, and all we need to do is get into the back seat and allow life to flow through us. Can you feel the sense of peace that is rising? Can you feel the sense of joy? I can, even as I'm saying these words, I can feel my body relaxing because it's so nice. It is such a beautiful space and place to be where I don't have to make anything happen, but to fully trust life, God, Spirit, to move and guide and lead and pull me, to fully trust that I'm forever and eternally sourced and fueled and funded by God. That all of my needs are met all of the time. I have everything I need. In each and every moment, I have everything I need. Now, I may have thoughts and opinions about what I would want to have or what I should have. I may have thoughts and opinions about what should and should not be, but those are only thoughts and opinions, and they matter nothing. They matter nothing. They are not important. All they do is create emotional and mental turmoil and eventually suffering when our expectations are not met by life. But what if we simply leaned in and leaned back and gave life and God permission to have its way with us? It's like that holy phrase, "Thy will be done." Or modern version of it, "I will the will of God to be done in my life." And this does not mean that we give up. It doesn't mean that we acquiesce to an external deity who's malicious or vengeful. But God is benevolent, always for us. Always for us. A term that Eckhart Tolle oftentimes use comes to mind: non-attachment. And this goes hand in hand with surrendering. Non-attachment to an outcome. We release the outcome. We have our vision, we begin to move in that direction, we do our tasks, we catch the guidance from within, we heed it, we follow it, we surrender, but we're not attached to a particular outcome. Because our outcome, what we can imagine, is limited to our past experience. We cannot imagine something that we have not in some way or another experienced. It doesn't have to be a personal experience. or we've heard of someone who did something or had something or went someplace or whatever. And that becomes a part of our experience. But our imagination is confined and limited by our past experiences. And that has nothing at all to do with what lies ahead of us. We all live and move in a field of infinite possibilities where there are no limits to what is possible. There are no limits to what is possible. I was going to say something else. Let's see if I remember it. Life knows no logic. Life knows no reason. Those are all stories that we have come to believe, stories that we've told ourselves, stories that others may have told us, but those are stories that we have come to believe. As we surrender, and there are actually scientific evidence suggesting that surrendering is the most powerful way to live. As we surrender, we open ourselves up to power that is so much greater and vaster than we could ever fathom to flow into our lives. As we, like in the cab, we trust that the driver knows the best way to get us where we want to get. So we don't mingle, we don't interfere with what the driver does. So why not trust life to know the best way to where we want to go? Why not trust God to know how to get where we want to go? Why not? Why not? This is the surrendered life. Giving up resistance. Releasing and let go of trying to figure out the best way to move forward. Not only once, but again and again and again and again on a daily basis, giving up. I start my days surrendering my life, my family, my health, my finances, my business, my joy, my peace, my love, my harmony, all aspects of my life. I start my day surrendering them to God. And then I say, I will, the will of God to be done in my life. And I also say, just to sort of be sure, I also say, thy will be done. And I want to live in that field all of the time, because that space and place, it removes all the stress, all the anxiety, all the fear, all the worry, all the doubt. Because God, I mean, we're talking about God here. We're talking about the presence that has created everything that we can see, that we can perceive, which is only the tip of the iceberg. Because there is so infinite more, so much infinite more, so much infinite more. Infinite is infinite. It's not more, it's infinite. But anyhow, but that is what we're surrendering to. Not God of the Old Testament or the Bible or any religion. God is not a human. God does not have human characteristics. But God is pure love, pure beauty, pure intelligence, pure joy, harmony, abundance, wellness, wholeness, creativity. That is what God is. And all of that As God is infinite and omnipresent, it means that all of God, not a part of God, but all of God, is fully present everywhere, in each and every moment. God cannot diminish itself. God cannot divide itself into parts. But all of God is fully present right where you are, right where I am, in each and every single moment. God is not more over here than over here. God is not more in one individual than in another. But God is as much in a little, tiny grain of sand as in a human being, as in a leaf, as in the waves in the ocean, as in the vast space, the stars, supernovas, quarks, and in between everything. God is as much everywhere, in every space and place. There is no spot where God is not. And this is what we're surrendering to. This is what we want to surrender to. We want to trust God more than fear. We want to trust God more than the ego. We want to trust God more than doubt. We want to trust God more than worry. We want to surrender our lives to God, trusting fully that God will lead and move and guide us forward. So that the next great and grand version of who we are, what we are, may emerge. Now, this does not, I'm coming to a close, but I just want to briefly touch on the subject of challenges. Because we're not here to live a challenge-free life, even if we surrender our lives. Challenges will arise. Even if we yield, we will bump into obstacles. But those are not God on our case, as I've been prone to say lately. Those are not God seeking to deny us anything. But those are moments and experiences of preparation. It's like that final exam that we had in school. We had taken a class or a course, and just to graduate from that course or class, we had the final exam. And this is what our challenges are like. They are stepping stones that we may step upon to excel ourselves to the next level, to expand into the next dimension of ourselves. Take a breath. Oh, and one more thing. One more thing. As I was taking my breath, I was reminded that at one level, we're all surrendering every single moment. We're all surrendering to the beating of our heart, to our body, fully trusting that it will circulate the blood. We're all surrendering to our body, fully trusting that it will breathe and that it will extract what it needs from the air. So at a certain level, we're all surrendering already. Surrender is a part of our nature. Then we have the ego and the surface mind, the intellectual mind, that has gone astray, that has come to believe that it cannot surrender, that its life depends on being in control, of being in the driver's seat. But that is just a misperception. It's a story that we've been told that we need to be in control. But how can something that is infinitesimal in comparison to the infinite, possibly know what the best course of action is? How can something, and I'm talking about us, I'm talking about me, I'm talking about you, we are infinitesimal in comparison to the infinite. How can we, and as I look around the room, I can't even see beyond the walls of this room. I have no idea. I have a memory of what's beyond the walls, but I have no idea what is beyond those walls. So how foolish to trust in myself. How foolish to trust in myself. I'm going to leave you with that it's foolish to trust ourselves when we can place our trust in life. I invite you to close your eyes. And as we come back to this high and holy moment, as we come back to the nowness of this moment, God, oh God, oh God, how beautiful it is, how powerful it is to be here and now, to be fully anchored in this high and holy moment of connecting and communing with the presence, with the spirit, with abundance, creativity, intelligence, beauty. Something wonderful truly is happening in this moment. We're now releasing and letting go of all of that which no longer serves us. We are releasing and letting go of those small and limited perceptions, paradigms, point of views, perspectives. In this moment, we are opening and expanding. And we are, my God, we are expanding. In this moment, we're willing to surrender our lives to God. And we know that only good comes from it. I know it, I feel it, I accept it, I give thanks for it, allow it to be. This journey, this path that we're on, it's such a beautiful adventure. It's a wonderful adventure. And right now, in this moment, healing is taking place, peace is taking place, willingness is taking place, surrender is taking place like never before. Abundance is taking place like never before. Creativity is taking place like never before. We're now open and available like never before to catch the soft whisperings of the still small voice within. And we're now willing to heed it, to follow it, allowing the next great and grand version of who we are to come forth. Surrender is becoming our second nature, which it really is not. It is our first nature, but then we've placed another nature on top of that first nature. So we're now making surrender our second nature. We're surrendering in this moment. Trusting, trusting, trusting. Knowing, knowing, knowing. Feeling, feeling, feeling that God is forever for us. Always on our side. It is happening now. It is happening now. It is happening now. It's done. So it is. So be it. Amen. You may open your eyes and we'll come back. We'll come back. Thank you. I want to thank you for participating in this, for joining me here. But I also want to thank those of you who've sent me comments and questions. I love them, and I would love for them to keep coming. I love having these dialogues and the wonderful feedback that I'm getting. So thank you so much for all of that. Until the next time, as always, I bless your day and I bless your way. Namaste. You have been listening to an episode of the Path to Freedom podcast with me, Daniel Roqueo. Please stay tuned for more episodes. And for even more inspiration and empowerment, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. I also invite you to visit my website, danielroqueo.com. Blessings of love and light to you.